For the threat of a radar indicated rotation, we got a report from a spotter that there was some rotation spotted with this visually. So we're seeing that confirmation there. So far, no reports of anything on the ground. But even if you're not in this tornado warning, there is going to be the threat of some wind damage. We've seen reports of that tonight with trees snapped just off to the north of here up towards Kirksville and points east, as well as we've had some reports of very large hail too, up to the size of softballs as these storms developed this afternoon. So we'll have that threat. I do want to take a look at our power outages right now just to see if we have anything else coming in from these storms in our viewing area. It looks like we're starting to see some of those in Macon, as Chance mentioned. Let me clear this off. It does look like we are seeing some of those in Macon County, portions of the county there, and then off to the north, really starting to see those numbers coming in just north of Hannibal and Quincy. So far, not too much elsewhere in mid-Missouri, but we have these warnings that we're continuing to track. We'll go back out to our radar here and we'll take a look at those. We have that radar indicated rotation. We want to get a close look at that. And it has not died down. It's off to the east of Marceline now. It's approaching Westville. If you are along Almond Avenue to Clark Road, that is approaching that intersection where you're right along Clark Road is really where that rotation is moving over right now. So that's very close to Westville in portions of northern Chariton County. And then off to the south, Echo and Bindonville, also watching some rotation there, or at least approaching there. We have some broader rotation. That's the one we were just tracking, that tornado warning that was just in effect that just expired. So certainly plenty to watch here along this line that is bringing that severe potential this evening. Chance, are we getting anything new in from any spotters?
So the last thing I had saw was near Buckland, where the actual official tornado warning actually started just east of Marceline. We said a storm chaser report a 1-inch hail and winds up to 60 miles per hour, but this is still tagged for winds up to 70 miles per hour. The newest updated track timing on the system is it's moving off to the southeast, closer to about 20 miles per hour, so a little bit slower than what we were seeing just in the last 10 minutes. Yeah, and that's never good news for the heavy rain potential with this. We've seen some reports earlier this evening with these storms that developed. They were bringing some very heavy rainfall. We saw reports of at least 2 inches of rainfall within an hour. We'll take a look at that now. I want to turn off the warnings just to kind of clear this up. We do have some heavy rain with these storms that continue working their way south. Notice here up in yellow and orange, those were just with the storms that developed this afternoon. So within an hour or so, these put down anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain. Some flood advisories in effect up there. And this particular storm that we've been tracking, radar indicating up to 2 inches of rain has already fallen. So as things continue to slow down, we're going to be looking at that threat for maybe some localized flooding. So far, we will be watching for that threat as well. And it could sneak up too as these storms continue to work their way onto the south and east. So I've got our severe threats up right now where you're seeing green, that is some heavy rainfall, and pink here, that indicates where we have the possibility of some very large hail, possibly seeing up to at least $half size hail. We're seeing possibility of some very strong winds up to at least 60 miles per hour as this slides out of Macon into northern Chariton and Randolph County. So I want to clear that, go back out to our radar and take a look at that rotation again just to see where that is. Starting to see that just off to the south of the Macon County border there, south of Marceline. That is going to continue working its way off to the southeast. If you're in Muscle Fork, we'll be looking at that as well. We'll turn on that warning back again as we'll take a look at those two areas of rotation. This one off to the east is broadened out a little bit, but here in bright green, we probably have some pretty strong winds too. We can sample that while we're keeping an eye on that tornado warning, anywhere from 50 to 60 mile per hour winds as this storm continues to slide south. I do want to note here that we still have that rotation, but it looks like it's gone down in intensity a little bit since the last scan. Not quite as vibrant, so that's something we always like to see. But I do want to put a new track on it as it slides south and east of Marceline. This is still moving in around 30 to 35 miles per hour. So that is still putting it in Salisbury by around 8:46, and other locations that will likely be impacted there along Highway 24. Salisbury, of course, and then Clifton Hill. You'll also be in the path of this. Not currently in a tornado warning, but you will be in the path as this continues to slide south. So likely around 8:45 in the next 30 minutes or so. Huntsville also in the path of this. The
strong winds that will be moving in. Moberly, it's also approaching you. So right along Highway 63 there in northern Randolph County, we are starting to see some of those stronger winds, even starting to see some rainfall there on the northern side of Moberly. Strongest winds, though, still a ways out. As we look back off to the west, the very heavy rainfall and possibly some hail now moving through Marceline. That's going to be approaching northern sections of Chariton County. And then this is all going to be working off to the east and southeast later tonight. Still looks like we're going to be looking at that threat for severe weather at least until about midnight. I don't think we're going to see that in the I-70 corridor at least until about 10 o'clock, if not a little bit later. Does look like the National Weather Service has extended our severe thunderstorm watch until 1 a.m. That does include Columbia and Jefferson City, as well as Callaway, Osage, Gasconade, Montauk, and then into Cooper, Pettis, and Saline counties. So I think Saline was already in that watch, but until after midnight for these storms that continue to work their way south. So far, not a ton more new development off to the west of this current section, but you'll notice all of those warnings out to the west. We'll have to watch those too. So while we're here, I do want to take a look at our ABC 17 Storm Track feature track. This will just give you an idea. This is lining up pretty well with what we're seeing on the radar right now at 8 o'clock. Here's what it could look like at 9. That cluster of storms continues to work its way south into Randolph County and then off to the west, potentially seeing a little bit more development here in the next hour. We're going to watch that portion of the state pretty closely. And then here's 11 o'clock. Those storms start to slide along and south of I-70. So we've got a ways to go as these storms continue to work their way through mid-Missouri right now. So if you're watching this from Columbia, things are pretty quiet. We are not seeing any immediate threats, but we could see that here in the next couple of hours as these storms continue to work their way south. So currently we have a tornado warning that's in effect until 8:30, and this is for northern portions of Chariton and western Randolph County. That's for radar indicated rotation. We also had a spotter report of some lowering rotation there that was reported in Chariton County, or at least just outside of Chariton County. And then off to the south of Macon, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect until 8:45, so about half an hour on that. That is for 60 to 70 mile per hour winds and possibly up to egg-size hail. So some large hail and some strong winds now moving into Chariton and Randolph counties. I want to go back out to ABC 17 Storm Track meteorologist Chance Gotch, who's been tracking the storms with me this evening. Are you seeing anything new coming in on these current warnings?
So no new talks on current warnings. One thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit too is if we go ahead and switch over to links 2 just shortly, we're starting to see a little bit of deadening in the rotation for that current tornado warning right now, making its way through portions of Chariton. But one area I kind of want to focus on is another uptick of an area just off to the east. This is going to be in southwestern portions of Macon County into northwestern portions of Randolph County. That's that broad rotation, and I'm going to go ahead and switch back over here so you can kind of see the story of the hail. You see that darker spot? That could be an indication that that southeastern side, just south of Highway 36, you see the mile marker there, heading south there, kind of into that Two Corners region there. That is going to be an area we're going to be watching for, specifically that 2-inch hail as it continues to kind of make its way back off to the southeast. I want to go ahead and put a track on it, moving a little bit slower, closer at about 20 miles per hour. So here is going to be the time of impact on this system. Looking at Cairo, going to be 8:54, Huntsville, going to be a little bit closer to 9:10. Clifton Hill, 9:10, and Moberly, Missouri, if this thing continues to hold together with the strength that it currently has, looking at 9:15 for this system, and all these severe thunderstorm warnings right now going to be possibly producing, that's right, hail up to 2 inches in diameter. Now, we're still in intermission for that hockey game right now, so you're not missing anything, folks, right now. This is very important. We do have that tornado warning going to be in effect till 8:30 for portions of Chariton County and even northwestern portions of Randolph County as it continues to make its way to the southeast. The good news is on that system is we're not seeing as much rotation on the original tornado warning. That's going to be kind of focused a little bit further to the southeast. But right now, that cell is not going to be currently warned for the tornado warning as we continue to watch the system kind of make its way back off to the southeast. And with this, it's going to be a slow mover. Jessica mentioned this just a little bit. We're seeing some higher rainfall rates. I want to kind of highlight this. All that pink is going to be the possibility of hail and some pretty significant downpours. So if you're going to be doing any driving around that area, especially off to the southeast, so right now, Highway 36, it's kind of passing at least the primary zone of that to the southeast of you. And I want to go ahead and look at the velocities here. So off into northwestern portions of Chariton County. So Westville, you're looking a little bit more in the clear with that system. Not yet, though, not all the way, but in terms of rotation, it's not as significant, but off to the northwest, back towards Berryville, and just to the south towards Caseyville, that is going to be that second area of rotation, looking a little bit more broad, thankfully. That is a good thing anytime we can see that, but we're still seeing some significant hail. You can kind of see the darker outline there, almost a bowing segment right there. That's continuing to make its way to the southeast, but really right now we're continuing to look for reports, but good news is we are only currently seeing some hail reports. That's up to 1 inch, but these tags, once again, going to be for hail up to 2 inches in diameter. And I just want you to kind of see what this thing's been doing. So you see it kind of die out. We call this recycling. So what happens is it's not really organized, but then it starts to get a little bit more energy. So notice how we go from that brighter pink back into the black colors. That's going to be indicative of some growth in the storm. And also tied to the system, look at this. This is going to be all the hail strikes. So this shows that the system still has pretty significant energy, and we notice that too with the environment. I mean, we're talking about temperatures back into the mid-90s, heat index close to 100 degrees in some areas, so a decent amount. Now, the thing that's going to help us kind of eliminate some of this as we head a little bit later into this is going to be we get into the darker overnight hours. That sucks up a lot of energy from this system, and things aren't looking as bad. Now, we're continuing to track this system. Here's going to be that tornado warning, once again, in effect until 8:30 for northeastern corners of Chariton County and even into northwestern portions of Randolph County, in effect till 8:30. Associated with this, with these severe thunderstorm warnings, is going to be hail up to 2 inches in diameter. And we're going to be even seeing winds possible up to 70 miles per hour, and that's going to be a little bit more widespread embedded in this system. So once again, we're seeing a little bit of the weakening of rotation on that exact system, but just off to the east, once again.
That same one that we were just watching.
Yeah,
Like
that's kind of that area there.
Up and down.
Pulsing back down. Both of them aren't looking as significant in terms of rotation, but the good news is that is continuing to weaken, but we're also still seeing significant amount of lightning and even hail, so that could be indicative that this thing still has a decent amount of energy.
Yeah, so I'm watching some of this stuff coming in. Not to take away too much from our tornado warning, but we had some reports of some tree damage with this storm that's moving through Monroe County right now. That's on the eastern side of the county, and that's moving through, or at least out of Monroe into northern Audrain and then into Pike County. So that's where we have the highest threat for some strong winds in that section of the viewing area. We're going to be looking at that threat for up to 70-mile-per-hour winds, and the warning, they just adjusted that to up to golf ball size hail, but still pretty significant hail as this continues to work its way to the southeast. We still have about 9 minutes left on this tornado warning. I want to look at this report that just came in. Looks like they just issued, let's see if that includes any of our area, just coming in from the St. Louis Weather Service.
Looks like Monroe is going to be included.
Yeah, I'm not sure what portion because we're already, let's see. Oh, there it is. It's for the current area. So
Gotcha.
Generally a new warning for the same area that the storm continues to work its way. Let's check the speed on that. That's working its way southeast around 30 miles per hour. So going to be looking at small hail and still that threat for up to 70-mile-per-hour winds. We are getting some strong wind reports there, and then that potential for some damage. We've had some reports of tree damage. So I want to put a track on that as that slides eventually into eastern portions of Audrain County. That's moving to the southeast around 30 miles per hour. So that's going to be approaching Ladonia by around 8:59. And then towards Wellsville at 9:28, Montgomery City at 9:45, and that's a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. So eastern portions of mid-Missouri will be tracking that threat for some strong winds and small hail. And then we're watching this line that continues to work its way south. I've been telling you it's kind of pulsing up and down as far as the rotation goes. Still looking like it's got a healthy amount of strong winds and possibly some large hail. The National Weather Service says this has the possibility of producing up to golf ball size hail, and it does look like, just by looking at the reflectivity, that would be the highest chance of that would be off to the west and southwest of Macon. Put a new track on this whole line as it approaches Huntsville by around 8:36, Moberly at 8:40, Salisbury 8:54, Higbee at 8:55, and Keatsville by around 9:02. So still around 8:45-ish or so for Highway 24. And we're still looking at that threat of potentially a tornado. We have a tornado warning that's in effect for the next 7 minutes. That's for mostly into portions of Chariton County. I don't think we're going to see much of a threat here in Macon as that has slid out of the area. Portions of northern and western Randolph County, and that goes until 8:30 as well. Not seeing as much of an inflow area here where that current warning is, but I want to go out and take a look at our storm relative velocity. Looks like we might even have some more broad rotation trying to develop here. Let me go back out to our Kansas City radar. This might give us a better idea of the winds in that area. Have a couple of circulations that we're keeping an eye on. Nothing super promising looking at this time, but we have a couple of areas that are a little of concern here. Some broader rotation, but some strong winds. That is off to the east of Muscle Fork, right over Hubbard right now. So potentially seeing some broad rotation there. And then potentially another area that's starting to look a little bit more favorable that's off to the south of Marceline. And that's going to be moving generally in that same direction to the southeast into portions of Chariton County. We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning here. We'll tell you about that while we're on the air. This is until 9:15 for Chariton and Randolph counties, and it is, let's go to Chance because he probably has better information than me that I can show you.
Yeah, this new severe thunderstorm warning right now that's in effect till 9:15 is going to have golf ball size hail or winds up to 70 miles per hour. Now this thing is currently moving back off to the southeast, looking for an approximate, looking at 25 miles per hour. So still kind of in line between that 20 and 30 mile per hour window.
So moving slowly. So we mentioned the threat of strong winds, large hail, and now that it's moving a little bit slower, we're going to be watching for that threat of some heavy rain as this slides off to the south and off to the southeast. So again, that's a severe thunderstorm warning here in orange for most of Chariton and Randolph counties. We'll put a new track on that. I want to get an update of the speed. So I just showed you these. Ignore those times. I'll give you some new times here as this has kind of slowed down around 25 miles per hour. So that is going to give us a new timeline for Moberly here in the next 5 minutes. Huntsville going to see those strong winds by 8:31, Salisbury by 8:56, and Higbee by around 8:57. Chance, what do you have for us now?
Yeah, so just an update from the National Weather Service office in Kansas City. They're saying that they are expiring the tornado warning for Chariton, Lynn, and Randolph County right now.
Okay, so that is good news. We're going to go ahead and give you the wide view, and we're going to get off here so you can watch some Stanley Cup hockey as these storms continue to work their way through. So now watching that threat for severe weather along Highway 24. Make sure you have our ABC 17 Storm Track weather app. You can get those alerts right as they're issued if you have your location set. So we're going to be tracking that threat for severe storms at least until about 9:15. That's how long these current warnings go, but we will have an update on ABC 17 News at 9 on Fox 22.